Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was Companion, making $3 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $15 million and a worldwide total of $26 million. This movie took a huge hit this weekend. It actually took the biggest hit out of any of the films, or the holdovers at least, in the top 5, falling 68%, close to 70% in its second weekend. That is insane. I thought for sure the movie I thought the movie would be able to maintain a strong hold even with the competition, given how solid the word of mouth seemed to be from that first weekend. A lot of people seemed to really like it and wanted to go check it out. I thought it would have strong legs, but no, I think not only the competition but also the Super Bowl really did a lot of damage to this movie. Really, I think it was just released at around of a bad time. I remember it was originally supposed to come out earlier in January. Why they moved it closer to the end of January, I have no idea, but maybe keeping it earlier in the month would have made it had a bit more stay power. I get it, it didn't want to compete with Wolfman, but still, this is a really devastating second weekend drop off, and I'm concerned to see where this movie will head onwards to after this. Yeah, really surprising turn of events for this movie. I was holding out hope for this movie that this would maybe turn out to be another one of them days, surprise at the box office, to turn out to be a sleeper hit, but unfortunately it doesn't look like that'll happen. Granted, the movie still didn't cost that much and it's already doubled that budget, so it's not like it's in a whole lot of danger, but this is still a very concerning performance for the movie. We'll see if it can bounce back from this, but yikes, things are looking a bit concerning. Number 4 was Mufasa the Lion King, making $4 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $235 million and its worldwide total to $671 million. On the complete opposite side, Mufasa is still hanging around. It had the best holdout of any of the holdovers in the top 5, falling just 36%. Given it was the Super Bowl this weekend, and given the fact that it's been in theaters for the longest out of any of the holdovers, still very, very impressive. And sad news, unfortunately, for Sonic fans, but it has now officially surpassed that film's entire theatrical run. It is officially the big winner of the holiday season. It had all the odds working against it initially, but boy, did it not stop fighting. It put up a damn good fight, and it eventually was able to come out on top. You gotta give them credit where credit is due. They were able to take such a terrible opening and turn it into such a monumental success. Again, the word of mouth really carried it out, and the holidays also really gave it a second chance really to sustain momentum. So yeah, props to you, Mufasa the Lion King. Again, it's going to be very interesting to see how this movie does. Once again, this weekend we got another kids movie coming out. We'll see if this movie actually gets damaged by the other kids movie, though it seems unlikely considering how long this movie's been in the top 5, but still something to take into consideration. We'll see how much more juice is left in this tank. I know I've said that a bunch of times already with this movie, but there's only so many times you can talk about this movie for how long it's been in the top 5 and how many milestones it's broken thus far and how many expectations it's surpassed thus far. It has really defied the odds to become pretty much the big surprise and the big hit of the holidays. So yeah, we'll see how much further this movie can go. It seems like it's not going to stop anytime soon, and boy is that impressive, to say the least. Number 3 was Love Hurts, opening with $5.8 million this weekend domestically and $6 million worldwide. I did not have the highest of expectations, but even I thought it would do a bit better than this, because boy did this crash and burn, more so than Wolfman. My goodness, it just really seemed like this was the movie sent out to die this weekend. They put it out on Super Bowl Sunday weekend, and they held off the review embargo till like the day before the release. The reviews were terrible. There weren't a lot of buzz for the film. It wasn't really marketed that much either. It just seemed like, oh boy, this movie's a disaster. Let's just put it out there on a random weekend and just sent it out to die, unfortunately. Yeah, I wish there was more positive to be said here. The movie cost $18 million, so I mean, that's not impossible to make back, but even audiences aren't too kind to this movie. It got a C plus on Cinema Score, which is not good for this type of action comedy, especially during these days. Yeah, this is bad. This is a bad opening. I don't see this movie having any legs. I don't think this movie's gonna have any momentum. This seems dead on arrival, unfortunately, which sucks because I like the cast. Ki Hui Kwan getting this like leading man in an action a movie like this. I'm happy for the guy, but unfortunately this just wasn't the movie. This just wasn't the weekend. Unfortunately, this is a big flop already, and it's only going to get worse from here, unfortunately. Again, the word of mouth does not seem kind. The word of mouth doesn't really seem to like this movie. It's just really bad, just bad all around, unfortunately. So yeah, I wish I could be nicer. I wish I had more positive to say, but yeah, Love Hurts, terrible, a horrible opening, unfortunately. Number 2 was Hard Eyes, opening with $8.3 million this weekend domestically. That total stays the same worldwide as it hasn't been released in any international markets. It's also the third biggest opening for a horror film this year. It sits behind both Companion and Wolfman. While not as bad as Love Hurts, I thought this movie would do slightly better. I thought this would have the chance at cracking double digits. It just had the bigger promotion, bigger marketing, and I thought the horror community, once again, I thought they would go out and give this movie a chance. But I think this one was definitely hurt a bit by the Super Bowl. You know, I get what they were trying to do, put this out around Valentine's Day, and they didn't want to compete with, you know, Captain America this weekend. But still, though, just a bad weekend to release this movie. But the movie didn't do too bad. This is another one that cost $18 million. It's already made a majority of that back. The reviews were really solid, and it seems people like it okay. Not as much as Companion. It got a B- on Cinema Score, which is also comparable to stuff like Cocaine Bear and Thanksgiving, which were also able to make some decent money for being somewhat horror movie, comedy like type movies. So there is a chance this movie could make do with what it has. Certainly more so than Love Hurts. Audiences seem to be enjoying this movie much more, and it's got 2 weeks until the next horror movie, The Monkey, which comes out in a couple weeks from now. So hopefully this one's able to prevail. Hopefully this is the one that really takes off for horror. It has not been the best year for horror so far. A lot of disappointments. So hopefully this is the one that takes off. At the very least, becomes a sleeper hit, because, you know, again, Companion didn't really take off. Wolfman was a complete disappointment, so hopefully this one is the one to break the mold. Otherwise, we all got to rely on The Monkey, I guess, but that's a story for another day. As far as Hard Eyes goes, this is a pretty okay opening. It's nothing great. I think it could have been a bit better. Maybe had it come out, you know, on a weekend other than the Super Bowl, I think this probably could have done a bit better, maybe, and we'll see where it goes after this weekend. Maybe it's able to bring in some more people once the Super Bowl hype has died down this weekend. But yeah, I would still say this is a pretty okay opening considering the budget and everything going on, and I'm hopeful for this movie in the long run. Hopefully it surpasses expectations, but given the past couple of horror movies, I would not surprise if it doesn't. But yeah, still an okay opening, nothing more, nothing less. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, which was once again Dogman, making $13 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $54 million and its worldwide total to $66 million. This was one of the biggest surprises of the weekend for sure. I thought this movie was going to have a solid weekend. It was definitely going to be affected by the Super Bowl, but not this much. It fell 62% this weekend, which is not good for an animated film that has been really well received by a lot of people. Once again, I think the Super Bowl was a big factor. A lot of families were watching the big game, but also I think that maybe this movie could have been a bit on the front-loaded side of things. A lot of families, a lot of Dogman fans rushed out to go check it out on that first weekend, and then after that, people were just like, okay, we saw it, we don't need to see it again. Yeah, definitely, I think that's a big factor there too, because it's not like the movie's like a Wild Robot or an Inside Out 2 type of thing. Like, it's a good movie, people are enjoying it, but it's not something you need to see again and again and again. I think that's the word of mouth for this movie with a lot of people. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if this will be able to bounce back. I think that is likely, even with the new big competition, the new big kids movie coming out this weekend. I think, more people are probably going to go check it out this weekend since they have more time to check it out without the Super Bowl in the way. Even with the big kids movie coming out, I think a lot of kids still want to go check out this movie or see it again, despite some other parents' and other people's opinions on the film, maybe seeing it as a one and done type of scenario. I still think this movie's in a good spot right now. Again, it was only $40 million. It's sure to double that worldwide, and I think it's going to get there domestically, and it's probably just going to barely get over 100 million domestically, again, given this weekend and the competition on the horizon. It's just, this was just a really surprisingly a bad weekend for this movie. Especially I thought it would take a hit, but not to this degree. So we'll see if it bounces back and how much it bounces back this weekend. We'll see how affected it is by the competition. It's not doing terribly, but this is definitely something to take note of. Definitely something to be concerned over regarding Dogman's performance. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we got 2 new wide releases just in time for both Valentine's Day and President's Day weekend, starting with Paddington in Peru, the long-awaited 3rd film in the Paddington franchise. This one sees Paddington returning to Peru to find his long-lost dear Aunt Lucy with the Brown family, and hijinks ensue as they travel the jungles and rivers of the Peruvian country. This is definitely an interesting one. I know Paddington is beloved in the film community. It's certainly beloved by me, and I'm sure a lot of the Paddington fans in the US are eager to go check this out, but I'm also concerned if we're a really small minority in the grand scheme of things. I know Paddington 2's legacy has grown since it debuted in the US in 2018, but I'm not seeing a lot of buzz from the general audiences, certainly compared to something like Dogman, where I just knew a lot of people, especially kids, who were really excited for that. I'm not seeing too many people outside of the diehard Paddington fans really excited about it. The marketing seems to be alright. I've seen the trailer enough times, and I've definitely seen commercials for it here and there, but it hasn't been everywhere, you know what I mean? I've seen it here and there, really, and given that it's a holiday weekend, I'm sure a lot of families are going to be eager to go check out a new family film in theaters this weekend to take the kids to see, especially considering that they got President's Day off. But again, they also got Dogman, and I think that's going to be more appealing to see with the kids this weekend, and yeah, definitely a bit of a wild card. There's ways I can see this movie overperforming and underperforming. I don't think it's going to be Harold and the Purple Crayon by any means, but to put this in perspective, these Paddington movies, they do well overseas, especially in the UK. Hell, this movie's been doing pretty alright since it debuted last November. It's at about 100 million already internationally, but the last 2 Paddington movies, the first one did okay, but the second one did less, so we'll see where this movie goes from here. We'll see if it can improve where the second one did, at least domestically. I'm not getting my hopes up that high, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, especially considering how beloved that second one is, especially today. So definitely a wild card. I'm hoping for an overperformance, but I wouldn't be surprised if it let down a bit. And then there's Captain America: Brave New World, the latest in the MCU, and serves as the follow-up to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Disney Plus show. It's pretty much Sam's big screen debut as Captain America, and he's fighting the Red Hulk and seeing where this takes him and how he's able to serve the mantle and follow up the legacy of Steve Rogers. This one I definitely think is going to be the first huge, big blockbuster opening of the year. Dogman laid the ground, but this is really going to be where I think we really start seeing the huge openings of the year. I think there's a lot of buzz with this movie. A lot of people seem to be really interested in it's coming out super early in the year, and I think a lot of people really want a big movie like this, a big blockbuster out right now. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been off, of good graces. People liked the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, and most recently people enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine, so this is going to be a big test to see if we can continue this winning streak for them. The marketing has been really solid. I've been seeing tons of promos and ads for this movie. A lot seems to be working with this movie, but as with pretty much all of these superhero movies, the big thing with this movie is that it has to nail it. It has to be good. If this movie is not good, this movie is doomed. We could see a pretty solid opening, but we saw a solid opening with Ant-Man, but that was not a very good movie, and well, look what happened to that. So if this movie is good, if they nail it, then I think this will be a winner. We'll see this movie, setting records for the year. It'll do really, really well. But if it doesn't, if it falls short, then this is going to be really, really big disappointment, certainly one of the bigger disappointments of the year. So gonna be interesting to see where this movie goes this weekend. There's a lot riding on this. It's the first of 3 Marvel movies coming out this year. I'm very curious to see where it goes, but I have some high hopes that it'll prevail. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links at the end of the video. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.